As punishment for losing a bet, the alien princess is ordered to marry a human princess. Zixthara stood before her father's throne, her crystalline skin shifting from deep blue to angry red. The massive chamber of the imperial palace echoed with the sound of her defeat. Around them, the court nobles whispered behind their hands, their own crystal bodies flickering with colors of amusement and shock. "You have failed, daughter," Emperor Velthon said from his golden throne. His voice was calm, but his skin showed disappointment in dark purple waves. 3 human colonies still fly their flags. Not one surrendered to your words. The princess lifted her chin higher. "Those humans are more stubborn than I expected, father. They do not understand reason like civilized beings should." "Perhaps," the emperor said slowly. "But a bet is a bet. You said you could make them surrender without firing a single shot. You were so sure of yourself." Zixthara remembered her bold words from 3 months ago. She had laughed at the idea that primitive humans could resist her diplomatic skills. The Veltaran people were known throughout the galaxy as master negotiators. They had convinced dozens of species to join their hegemony through words alone. Humans should have been easy. The terms were clear. Emperor Velthon continued. "If you failed, you would marry a human of my choosing. This will teach you not to underestimate other species." The court gasped. Even though they all knew the bet, hearing the punishment spoken aloud was shocking. Marriage to a human was considered the worst fate that could happen to a Veltaran noble. Humans were seen as short-lived, emotional creatures who barely understood basic science. "Father, please," Zixthara said, her voice shaking. "Surely there is another way to pay for my mistake." "No." The emperor's skin turned solid black, showing his final decision. "I have already chosen your husband, Commander Marcus Chen of the Terran Defense Corps." A hologram appeared in the center of the throne room. It showed a human male in military uniform. He looked to be in his 30s, with short dark hair and calm brown eyes. His face was serious but not unkind. "A soldier?" Zixthara asked, surprised. "Not even a diplomat or scientist?" "He is more than just a soldier," the emperor said, "but you will learn that yourself." The princess stared at the hologram. The human looked so ordinary, so plain compared to her people's beautiful crystal forms. She would have to spend her life with this creature who probably could not even speak proper Veltaran. "When?" she asked quietly. "The message has already been sent to Earth," her father replied. "If he accepts, the wedding will be in 2 months. The entire galaxy will watch a Veltaran princess marry a human. Let this be a lesson to all who think they can predict the actions of other species." 3 days later, the response came from Earth. Commander Marcus Chen accepted the proposal. The news spread across the galaxy faster than light travel. Every species with access to galactic communications heard about the strange marriage arrangement. On Earth, Marcus Chen read the official invitation in his small apartment on Luna Station. His fellow officers thought he was crazy for accepting. Some thought it was an honor, others believed it was a trap. "You don't have to do this, Marcus," said his friend Colonel Davis over the communication screen. "No one would blame you for refusing. Marriage to an alien princess sounds like something from an old movie." Marcus set down the crystal tablet that contained the formal proposal. "I've been studying the Veltaran culture for years, Tom. This is the chance of a lifetime." "Studying their culture? Why?" "Because I believe peace between our species is possible," Marcus said. "Someone has to build the first bridge." Colonel Davis shook his head. "The reports say she's arrogant and considers humans to be primitive animals. This marriage is supposed to be her punishment, Marcus. She's not going to be happy about it." Marcus smiled slightly. "Then I'll have to change her mind." Back on Veltar Prime, Princess Zixthara tried to find ways to escape her fate. She met with the court's legal experts, searching for loopholes in the marriage contract. She even considered running away to a distant planet. "There is no escape, Your Highness," said her advisor, Lord Kethran. His elderly crystal body showed, deep concern in shades of yellow. "Your father made the bet public. The entire court witnessed it. To break the agreement now would damage the royal family's honor." "My honor is already damaged," Zixthara said bitterly. "I will be married to a primitive creature. How can I show my face in civilized society?" "Perhaps," Lord Kethran said carefully, "this human is not as primitive as we assume." The princess turned to look at him sharply. "What do you mean?" "I have been researching Commander Chen," the old advisor said. "His military record is impressive. He has won several important battles against the Zephyrian pirates. But more interesting is his education." Education? Zixthara was surprised. She had assumed all humans were barely educated. "He has advanced degrees in xenobiology and cultural studies. He speaks 7 alien languages. His specialty appears to be understanding non-human societies." This news troubled the princess more than she expected. She had prepared herself to marry a simple soldier who would be amazed by her superior culture. A human who studied alien societies was something different. "Show me his complete file," she ordered. Over the next week, Zixthara studied everything available about Marcus Chen. His military service included diplomatic missions to 3 different alien worlds. He had helped negotiate peace treaties with species that had been fighting for decades. Most surprising of all, he had published several academic papers about Veltaran history and culture. "He knows more about our ancient customs than most of our own nobles," she told Lord Kethran after reading his work. "How is this possible?" "Humans appear to be very good at learning," the advisor replied. "Perhaps that is why they have spread so quickly across the galaxy." As the wedding date approached, Zixthara found herself thinking about her future husband more often. His calm acceptance of the marriage proposal puzzled her. Most humans would either be terrified or excited about marrying alien royalty. Marcus Chen seemed to be neither. The wedding preparations began with great ceremony. Representatives from dozens of species requested permission to attend. The galactic media called it the most unusual wedding in known history. Princess Zixthara stood in her chambers, looking at her reflection in the crystal mirror. In 2 weeks, she would be married to a human. Her punishment would become reality. But as she studied Commander Chen's research about her people, she began to wonder if perhaps her father had chosen more carefully than she realized. This human was not the simple primitive she had expected. Maybe, she thought, this marriage would not be the disaster she feared. Maybe it would be something else entirely. The wedding preparations turned into a battle that nobody expected. Princess Zixthara sat in the royal planning chamber, surrounded by ancient books and crystal tablets. Her skin flickered between angry red and determined orange as she studied the oldest Veltaran marriage customs. "If I must marry this human," she told her wedding planner, "then he will learn exactly what it means to be beneath a Veltaran noble." Lady Sindara, the court's master of ceremonies, looked worried. Her crystal body showed nervous yellow patterns. "Your Highness, some of these ancient rituals have not been used for over 1,000 years. "Perfect," Zixthara said with a cold smile. The ritual of 7 submissions should teach him his proper place, and the test of worthiness will show the entire galaxy how inferior humans truly are. The ritual of 7 submissions required the groom to kneel 7 times during the ceremony, each time reciting words that admitted his lower status. The test of worthiness involved answering complex questions about Veltaran history and philosophy. Most Veltaran nobles would struggle with these questions. "Surely a human will fail completely," Zixthara thought with satisfaction. Meanwhile, on his transport ship traveling to Veltar Prime, Marcus Chen studied his own set of ancient texts. His cabin was filled with books, tablets, and holographics, displays showing Veltaran cultural information. "Sir," said Lieutenant Sarah Kim, his aide, "are you sure about these preparations? The princess seems to be planning something difficult." Marcus looked up from a particularly old text written in classical Veltaran. "She's planning to humiliate me, Sarah. The question is whether she understands what she's actually doing." "What do you mean?" Marcus smiled and pointed to a passage in the book. "These ancient rituals she's choosing have deeper meanings than she realizes. The ritual of 7 submissions isn't about showing weakness. In the original context, it was about showing respect for wisdom and strength." Lieutenant Kim looked confused. "But the translations say it's about admitting inferior status." "Modern translations, yes," Marcus said. "But I've been studying the original language for 10 years. The ancient meaning is very different. If I perform these rituals correctly, using the original intent, the ceremony will become something she didn't expect." The transport ship arrived at Veltar Prime 3 days before the wedding. Marcus stepped off the ship wearing a simple Terran Defense Corps uniform. The crystal spires of the Veltaran capital city rose around him like frozen music. Despite studying images for years, seeing the real city took his breath away. A formal escort waited for him. Lord Kethron, the princess's advisor, stepped forward. His elderly crystal body showed polite but cautious blue patterns. "Commander Chen," Lord Kethran said in perfect English, "welcome to Veltar Prime. I am here to guide you through the wedding preparations." "Thank you, Lord Kethran," Marcus replied. Then, switching to perfect High Veltaran, he continued, "I am honored to walk beneath the crystal light of your beautiful world." The old advisor's body flashed bright surprise white. Several other Veltaran nobles in the escort group showed similar shock. Humans were not supposed to speak High Veltaran, the formal language used only in the most important ceremonies. Your pronunciation is excellent, Commander," Lord Kethran said, still surprised. "I have had good teachers," Marcus replied, still speaking High Veltaran. "I hope to prove worthy of the honor your princess does me." Word of the humans' perfect High Veltaran reached Princess Zixthara within an hour. She was reviewing the final ceremony plans when Lady Sindara brought the news. "Impossible," the princess said, her skin showing disbelief in rapid purple flashes. "Humans cannot master High Veltaran. The sounds are too complex for their primitive vocal cords." "Perhaps we should test him ourselves," Lady Sindara suggested carefully. That evening, a formal dinner was arranged. Princess Zixthara entered the great dining hall expecting to meet a confused human struggling with basic courtesy. Instead, she found Marcus Chen standing in the proper position of respectful greeting, wearing formal robes that were perfectly appropriate for a Veltaran. "Court dinner." "Your Highness," Marcus said, bowing exactly the right amount for his position. "Thank you for welcoming me to your father's table." The princess studied him carefully. His formal robes were not expensive, but they were correct in every detail. His bow showed he understood the complex rules of Veltaran court behavior. "You seem well prepared, Commander," she said, speaking in High Veltaran to test him. "One should always show proper respect when entering a new family," Marcus replied smoothly in the same language. During dinner, Princess Zixthara tried to catch Marcus making mistakes. She asked him about obscure points of Veltaran history. She tested his knowledge of proper eating customs. She even quoted from ancient philosophy texts. Marcus answered every question correctly. More than that, he began asking his own questions about aspects of Veltaran culture that even impressed the princess. His understanding went far beyond what any human should know. "Tell me, Commander," the princess said finally, "why do you know so much about our people?" Marcus set down his crystal eating utensil carefully. "Because I believe understanding leads to respect, Your Highness, and respect leads to peace." "Peace?" The princess's skin showed interested green patterns despite herself. "You think our peoples can be at peace?" "I think our peoples have much to learn from each other," Marcus said. Velterans have achieved harmony and wisdom over thousands of years. Humans have adaptability and determination. Together, we might accomplish things neither could do alone. After dinner, Princess Zixthera walked alone in her private garden. The conversation with Marcus had not gone as she planned. She expected to find a primitive creature she could easily control. Instead, she found someone who seemed to understand her culture better than she understood his. The next day brought more surprises. Marcus met with various court officials to discuss wedding details. Each meeting left the Veltarans impressed and confused. He suggested modifications to the ceremony, Lady Sindara reported to the princess. Small changes, but they show deep understanding of the ritual meanings. What kind of modifications? Zixthera asked. He wants to add responses in classical Veltaran to the 7 submissions ritual. He says the ancient texts show there should be answering phrases. Princess Zixthera felt a chill of worry. She had chosen that ritual specifically to humiliate Marcus. If he understood the classical responses, the ceremony would become something entirely different. And the test of worthiness? She asked. He requested additional questions, Lady Sindara said, her crystal body showing amazement. He said the standard test was too easy. That evening, Princess Zixthera called Lord Kethron to her chambers. What do you really know about this human? She demanded. The old advisor's body showed thoughtful patterns. More than we first realized, Your Highness. I have been researching his background further. Commander Chen is not just a soldier and scholar. He has spent his entire career building bridges between different species. Bridges? Peace treaties, trade agreements, cultural exchanges. Everywhere he has served, relations between species have improved. I believe your father may have chosen him very carefully. Princess Zixthera stood at her window, looking out at the Crystal City. In 2 days, she would marry Marcus Chen. She had planned to make the wedding a demonstration of human inferiority. Instead, she was beginning to suspect that she was the one who did not fully understand what was happening. The human was changing all her plans without seeming to try. And despite her anger about the forced marriage, she found herself curious about what other surprises he might have. Tomorrow would bring the final preparations. Soon she would discover what Commander Marcus Chen truly intended. The morning of the wedding arrived with crystal bells ringing across Veltar Prime. Princess Zixthera stood in her preparation chamber, wearing the traditional royal wedding robes of pure white crystal. Her skin showed nervous patterns of silver and blue as her attendants made final adjustments. Everything is ready, Your Highness, Lady Sindara reported. The Great Temple is filled with representatives from 47 different species. The galactic media has set up broadcasting equipment throughout the city. Zixthera nodded, trying to calm her racing thoughts. She had spent the night reviewing the ancient rituals one more time. Despite Marcus's surprising knowledge, she still believed the ceremony would show his true place as her inferior. And the human? She asked. Commander Chen arrived at the temple an hour ago. He is preparing in his own way. In the temple's preparation chamber, Marcus Chen knelt in meditation. His formal wedding robes were simpler than the princess's, but made from the finest materials Earth could provide. The black fabric was decorated with silver threads in patterns that honored both human and Veltaran traditions. Lieutenant Kim entered quietly. Sir, it's time. Marcus opened his eyes and smiled. Sarah, whatever happens today, remember that this is about building something new. Not just for me and the princess, but for both our peoples. You really think this will work? She asked. I think, Marcus said, standing and adjusting his robes, that Princess Zixthera is about to learn that humans are full of surprises. The great temple of Veltar Prime was a wonder of crystal architecture. Thousands of guests filled the massive space, their various alien forms creating a rainbow of colors and shapes. The Veltaran nobles sat in the front sections, their crystal bodies showing excitement and curiosity. Behind them sat diplomats and representatives from dozens of worlds. Emperor Velthon entered wearing his ceremonial crown of living crystal. His presence commanded immediate silence from the gathering. He took his place on the raised platform where the ceremony would happen. "Today," he announced in a voice that carried to every corner of the temple, "we witness something new in galactic history. The joining of two different species in the bonds of marriage." The temple's great doors opened, and Princess Zixathara began her procession down the central aisle. Her white robes caught the light from thousands of crystal formations, making her appear to glow. The assembled guests rose in respect as she passed. She reached the platform and took her place beside her father. Now they waited for the groom. Marcus Chen entered from the side chamber, walking slowly and with dignity. His black robes provided a striking contrast to the crystal beauty around him. But what caught everyone's attention was his confident bearing. He did not look like a man walking to his punishment. As he approached the platform, Marcus performed the traditional Veltaran greeting to the Emperor. His bow was perfect, showing respect without surrendering dignity. "Commander Chen," Emperor Velthon said formally, "do you come here willingly to join with my daughter in marriage?" "I do, Your Imperial Majesty," Marcus replied in flawless high Veltaran. "I come seeking not just marriage, but understanding between our peoples." The ceremony began with the ritual of 7 submissions. This was the moment Princess Zixathara had planned most carefully. Marcus would have to kneel 7 times and recite words that admitted his lower status. The first submission, the ceremonial priest announced. "Let the groom acknowledge the wisdom of the bride's lineage." Marcus knelt on one knee, but instead of the modern submission phrase, he spoke in classical Veltaran. "I bow before the crystal light of ancient wisdom, seeking to add my strength to its brilliance." A gasp went through the Veltaran nobles. Those words were not submission. They were the classical response of an equal-seeking partnership. Princess Zixathara's eyes widened in shock. She had not expected him to know the original forms. The priest looked confused but continued. "The second submission. Let the groom acknowledge his need for guidance." Again Marcus knelt, and again he spoke the classical response. "I offer my determination to support the Palace of Crystal Thought, that together we might reach heights neither could achieve alone." By the 4th submission, Emperor Velthon was leaning forward with interest. The classical responses were transforming the humiliation ritual into something completely different, a ceremony of mutual respect and partnership. Princess Zixathara realized that Marcus had outmaneuvered her completely. Her attempt to shame him was becoming a demonstration of his deep understanding of her culture. When all 7 submissions were complete, it was time for the test of worthiness. The ceremonial priest presented Marcus with a crystal tablet containing questions about Veltaran history and philosophy. "The first question," the priest announced, "what is the meaning of the crystal path in ancient Veltaran philosophy?" Marcus answered not just correctly, but with quotes from 3 different ancient philosophers. His response was so complete that several Veltaran scholars in the audience nodded with approval. The questions continued, each one more difficult than the last. Marcus answered them all perfectly, sometimes adding historical context that impressed even the emperor. "Final question," the priest said, clearly amazed by the human's knowledge. "Recite the blessing of unity from the first dynasty." This was a test that even most Veltaran nobles would fail. The blessing of unity was written in the oldest form of their language, using concepts that were nearly impossible for non-Veltarans to understand. Marcus closed his eyes for a moment, then began to recite. His pronunciation was perfect, his understanding clear, But more than that, he added emotional depth to the ancient words that made them sound fresh and meaningful. When he finished, the temple was completely silent. Then Emperor Velthon began to glow with approval, and the Veltaran nobles followed. The sound of appreciation filled the great space. Now came time for the wedding vows. Princess Zixathara had prepared words that would emphasize her superiority and his obligation to serve her wishes. But as she looked at Marcus, standing with quiet dignity after his remarkable performance, she found she could not speak the words she had planned. Instead, she heard herself saying, "Commander Chen, you have shown today that understanding between species is possible. You have honored my people with your knowledge and your respect." Marcus smiled and replied, "Princess Zixathara, you have given me the greatest gift, the chance to build a bridge between our worlds. I promise to honor both your people and mine, and to work for peace between all species." The words were not the traditional vows, but they felt more real than any ancient formula. Emperor Velthon stepped forward. "By the authority of the crystal, throne and witnessed by the gathered representatives of the galaxy, I declare you joined in marriage. May your union bring wisdom to both your peoples." As the ceremony ended and the celebration began, Princess Zixathara found herself walking beside her new husband through crowds of well-wishers. Alien diplomats approached them with genuine congratulations rather than the polite sympathy she had expected. "You planned this from the beginning," she said to Marcus during a quiet moment. "I studied the possibilities," he admitted. "But I could not plan your response, Princess. When you changed your vows, you made this marriage real. Instead of just political." She looked at him with new respect. "What happens now?" "Now," Marcus said, "we show the galaxy what humans and Veltarans can accomplish together." As the celebration continued around them, Princess Zixathara realized that her punishment had become something unexpected. She had gained not just a husband, but a partner who understood her people better than she had imagined possible. The wedding was over, but their real work was just beginning. 3 months after the wedding, Princess Zixathara and Marcus Chen had settled into an unexpected routine. Their marriage quarters in the Crystal Palace were divided between Veltaran art and human books. Every morning they shared breakfast, while discussing cultural differences that had become fascinating rather than annoying. Marcus was reading reports from the outer colonies when the emergency alerts began. Red lights flashed throughout the palace, and the crystal walls vibrated. "With urgent communications, what is happening?" Zixathara asked, her skin showing worried orange patterns. Before Marcus could answer, Lord Kethran burst into their chambers. His elderly crystal body was flashing panic white. "Your Highnesses," he said breathlessly, "we are under attack. The Devourers have struck 3 Veltaran worlds and 2 human colonies simultaneously." Marcus dropped his reports and stood quickly. "The Devourers? They haven't been active for 5 years." "They are active now," Lord Kethran said grimly. "And their attacks seem planned to take advantage of the political situation. The Devourers were a species that lived only for conquest. Unlike other warrior races, they destroyed everything they could not use. Planets they attacked were left as dead rocks floating in space. Emperor Velthon called an emergency council meeting within the hour. The Great Council chamber filled with military officers, diplomats, and nobles from both species. The atmosphere was tense with fear and anger. "The attacks were coordinated," reported Admiral Hixtel, commander of the Veltaran fleet. "They hit our worlds at exactly the same time as the human colonies. Someone gave them detailed information about our defenses." Colonel Davis, Marcus's old friend, attended the meeting by holographic communication from Earth. "Our intelligence suggests the Devourers have been watching both our species for months. They seem to believe that your marriage has made us weak and confused." "Weak?" Princess Zixathara's skin flashed angry red. "How does alliance make us weak?" "They think we're divided," Marcus said quietly. The galaxy has been watching our marriage, wondering if it would cause problems between our peoples. The Devourers probably believe we'll spend time fighting each other instead of fighting them. Emperor Velthon leaned forward on his throne. What do our military experts recommend? Admiral Hixtel exchanged glances with the human officers. Traditionally, each species would defend its own territory. We have different fighting styles and technologies that don't work well together. Separate defense, then, said Lord Velkaran, the Emperor's military advisor. We protect Veltaran worlds, humans protect human worlds. Marcus stood up. With respect, Lord Velkaran, that's exactly what the Devourers want. If we fight separately, they can defeat us one species at a time. You have a better idea, Commander? Admiral Hixtel asked. Yes, Marcus said. We fight together. Combined fleets, mixed crews, shared strategies. The room erupted in voices. Many of the nobles thought the idea was impossible. Human and Veltaran military technology had never been combined before. It cannot work, declared Admiral Hixtel. Our ships use crystal-based systems. Human technology is metal and electronics. They are not compatible. Princess Zixathara had been listening carefully. Now she stood beside her husband. What if they could be made compatible? She asked. All eyes turned to her. Your Highness, the Emperor said. Marcus has been studying our technology for months, she said, and I have been learning about human engineering. We think there might be ways to combine our strengths. This was true. During their 3 months of marriage, they had spent many evenings discussing the differences between their people's technologies. What started as curiosity had become serious research. Marcus activated a holographic display. Veltaran crystal. Systems are excellent for defense and precision. Human metal technology is better for speed and adaptability. Combined properly, we could create ships that are stronger than either design alone. Show us, Emperor Velthon commanded. For the next hour, Marcus and Zixathara presented their ideas. They had been working secretly on theoretical designs that used crystal shielding with human engines, Veltaran sensors with human weapons systems. These are just theories, Admiral Hixtel protested. We cannot risk our fleets on untested ideas. We cannot risk our worlds on old thinking, Princess Zixathara replied firmly. The Devourers expect us to fight the old way. If we surprise them with something new, we have a chance. The debate continued for hours. Finally, Emperor Velthon made his decision. We will try the combined approach, he announced. Princess Zixathara and Commander Chen will oversee the integration of our fleets. Admiral Hixtel, you will provide full cooperation. The next 2 weeks were chaos. Veltaran crystal technicians worked alongside human engineers to modify ships. The language barriers were difficult, but Marcus and Zixathara served as translators for both technical terms and cultural understanding. The humans want to add more weapons, complained Chief Technician Molvar. They think every problem can be solved by shooting it. The Veltarans want to put crystal arrays everywhere, muttered Sergeant Torres from the human engineering team. They think every problem can be solved by thinking about it. Marcus and Zixathara spent their days solving these conflicts and their nights planning battle strategies. They discovered that their different approaches to problems actually helped them find better solutions. Humans react quickly to changing situations, Zixathara observed one evening. Veltarans plan carefully for long-term success. Together, we can be both fast and wise. Like our marriage, Marcus said with a smile. Neither of us expected it to work, but we're stronger together than apart. The first test came when Devourer scouts attacked a small mining station. The combined fleet that responded consisted of 3 Veltaran ships and 2 human vessels, all modified with hybrid technology. The battle was over in minutes. The hybrid ships moved with human speed, but struck with Veltaran precision. The Devourer. Scouts were destroyed before they could send any information back to their main fleet. It works, Admiral Hixtel admitted privately to Princess Zixathara. I did not believe it was possible, but it works. Word of the successful battle spread quickly through both fleets. Crews that had been doubtful about working together began to show enthusiasm. Human and Veltaran officers started sharing tactical ideas, but the real test came a week later. Devourer warships attacked the Kepler system, which contained both human and Veltaran colonies. The combined fleet that responded was the largest joint force ever assembled. Marcus commanded from the bridge of the flagship, a Veltaran cruiser enhanced with human technology. Princess Zixathara served as his strategic advisor, coordinating with both human and Veltaran commanders. Devourer fleet detected, reported the sensor officer. 15 heavy warships, approaching from 3 directions. The enemy had clearly expected to face separate human and Veltaran fleets fighting independently. Instead, they found a unified force that moved and fought as one unit. All ships, execute Formation 7, Marcus commanded. This was a new tactical arrangement they had developed, combining Veltaran defensive positioning with human strike patterns. The battle was fierce. Devourer ships were powerful, and their crews fought without fear. But the combined fleet's hybrid tactics confused and outmaneuvered them. They don't know how to fight us, Princess Zixathara observed as they watched the tactical display. They prepared to face humans or Veltarans, not both at the same time. When the battle ended, 12 Devourer ships were destroyed and the remaining 3 had fled. The combined fleet had lost only 1 ship and suffered minor damage to several others. As reports of victory reached both homeworlds, something important happened. The marriage that had been seen as a political embarrassment became a symbol of strength and unity. The galaxy is watching, Princess Zixathara told Marcus as they reviewed casualty reports. Other species are asking if they can join our alliance. Marcus nodded, looking at the tactical displays that showed their successful battle. We've proven that different species can work together. Now we need to prove we can build something lasting. The war with the Devourers was far from over, but the first major battle had been won. More importantly, Marcus and Zixathara had shown that their marriage was more than just a political arrangement. They had become true partners, and their partnership was changing the galaxy. 6 months after the first Devourer attack, the combined fleets had won 3 major battles. The hybrid ships were now the most feared vessels in the galaxy. Other species were sending ambassadors to request membership in what was being called the Human Veltaran Alliance. Princess Zixathara stood on the observation deck of the flagship, watching construction crews building the first joint space station. Human and Veltaran workers moved together with an efficiency that would have been impossible a year ago. The Carillion Republic wants to join our alliance, Marcus said, entering with a stack of diplomatic messages. So do the Helix Confederation and the Free Traders of Rigel. How many requests is that now? Zixathara asked. 17 species in total, Marcus replied. Everyone wants protection from the Devourers, but they also want to be part of what we're building here. Their success had surprised everyone, including themselves. What started as a forced marriage had become the foundation for the largest peaceful alliance in galactic history. Speaking of what we're building, Zixathara said, my father has requested a private dinner with both of us tonight. He says he has something important to discuss. That evening, Marcus and Zixathara arrived at the Emperor's private dining chamber. It was a small, comfortable room, very different from the formal throne room. Emperor Velthon greeted them wearing simple robes instead of his ceremonial crown. Please sit, he said warmly. Tonight we are family, not emperor and subjects. They shared a quiet meal, talking about the Alliance's progress and plans for the new space station. Marcus noticed that the Emperor seemed relaxed and pleased, but also as if he was preparing to say something important. Finally, as they finished eating, Emperor Velthon set down his crystal cup and looked at both of them seriously. I have something to confess, he said, about the bet that led to your marriage. Princess Zixthara looked surprised. "What about it, father?" "The bet was not real," Emperor Velthon said quietly. The silence that followed was complete. Zixthara's skin showed shocked white patterns while Marcus leaned forward with interest. "Not real?" Zixthara asked, her voice barely a whisper. "Oh, you really did lose the negotiation with the human colonies," her father explained. "That part was genuine, but the bet itself was arranged." Emperor Velthon stood and walked to the window overlooking the Crystal City. "For months before your mission, I had been in secret communication with the Terran government. We both recognized that our peoples needed to work together." "Why?" Marcus asked, though he was beginning to understand. "Because the galaxy is changing," the Emperor said. "The Devourers were showing signs of activity again. Other aggressive species were expanding their territories. Both humans and Veltarans were strong, but neither was strong enough alone to face what was coming." Princess Zixthara's skin flickered through several colors as she processed this information. "You wanted me to fail the negotiations?" "I wanted you to learn something important," her father said gently. "You believed humans were primitive and inferior. That prejudice would have prevented any real alliance between our peoples." Marcus was putting the pieces together. "You knew I would accept the marriage proposal." Emperor Velthon nodded. "The Terran government recommended you specifically. Your background in xenocultural studies, your diplomatic experience, your genuine respect for other species, you were perfect for this task." "Task?" Zixthara stood up, her skin showing angry red. "Our marriage was a task?" "Your marriage started as a political necessity," the Emperor said calmly. "What it became was your choice." Marcus reached for his wife's hand. "He's right, Zixthara. We could have stayed enemies forced to live together. Instead, we chose to become partners." "But why the deception?" she asked, still angry. "Why not just arrange the marriage directly?" Emperor Velthon smiled sadly. "Because both our peoples needed to see that cooperation was possible, not forced. If I had simply announced an alliance marriage, many would have seen it as weakness or desperation. Instead," Marcus said, understanding fully now, "they saw a princess learning to respect someone she thought was beneath her, and they saw a human proving worthy of that respect." "Exactly," the Emperor said. "Your marriage became a symbol that anyone could understand. If a proud Veltaran princess and a determined human commander could find common ground, then our species could work together." Princess Zixthara sat back down, her skin cycling through thoughtful patterns. The whole court was watching. The entire galaxy was watching. "And they saw something beautiful," her father said. "They saw two different people choosing to build something together instead of fighting. That gave other species hope that cooperation was possible." Marcus looked at his wife. "Are you angry that we were manipulated?" Zixthara considered the question carefully. "I should be angry, but—" She paused, looking around the comfortable room where they sat as a family. "Look what we accomplished. The Alliance has saved thousands of lives. 17 species want to join us. The Devourers are retreating." "And we are happy," Marcus added quietly. "Despite everything, we found something real together." Emperor Velthon's skin showed warm approval. "That is what I hoped for, but could not guarantee. Political marriages often create duty without affection. You two created something much more valuable." "What happens now?" Zixthara asked. "Do we tell the Alliance members the truth about how this started?" "That is your decision," the Emperor said. "But I would suggest that the truth of how something begins matters less than what it becomes." Marcus stood and walked to the window. Outside, he could see the lights of the joint space station under construction. Ships from a dozen different species moved through the traffic patterns, all working together. "I think," he said slowly, "that we should focus on the future rather than the past. The alliance is real now, regardless of how it started. Princess Zixthera joined him at the window. Agreed. We have work to do. Over the following weeks, Marcus and Zixthera threw themselves into alliance building with new energy. Knowing that their marriage had been part of a larger plan somehow made their success feel more meaningful, not less. The formal announcement of the Human-Veltaran Alliance came 2 months later. Representatives from 19 species gathered at the new space station for the signing ceremony. Marcus and Zixthera served as the first Alliance ambassadors, a position they would share. As they stood before the assembled delegates, Princess Zixthera reflected on the strange path that had brought them there. A year ago, she had been an arrogant noble who looked down on other species. Now she was helping to build the largest peaceful coalition in galactic history. "Fellow beings," Marcus said, addressing the crowd in multiple languages. "Today we prove that differences can become strengths when we choose cooperation over conflict." "We are not the same," Princess Zixthera added, her voice carrying to every corner of the station. "Humans, Veltarans, Corellians, Helix, and all our allies bring different gifts to this alliance. Together, we are stronger than any of us could be alone." The signing ceremony concluded with representatives from 19 species adding their names to the Alliance Charter. As the celebration began, Marcus and Zixthera found a quiet moment together on the station's observation deck. "Do you ever regret losing that bet?" Marcus asked with a smile. Princess Zixthera looked out at the stars, where ships from dozens of worlds traveled together in peace. "Losing that bet was the greatest victory of my life." Below them, the galaxy's newest alliance celebrated the beginning of a new age. What had started as one princess's punishment had become the foundation for unprecedented cooperation among the stars. And at the center of it all, a human and a Veltaran who had learned that the best partnerships are built not on similarity, but on the courage to understand and respect differences. The future stretched ahead of them, full of challenges and possibilities, but they would face it together, as equals, as partners, and as proof that even the most unlikely alliances can change the galaxy.